2. We are live. If we were live 4 days ago with Melissa, we would have been at the NSA, the National Speaking Association, 700 people conference. And now we have her. We have her with us to tell us a little bit about the habits that we can take in our lives as facilitators, as speakers, as humans. I assume she also has human advice, since some of us fall into that category. Yes. Melissa, thank you for being here.
Oh, hang on a second. I got to close up this window. Woo! That's human reality right there. I had us live on LinkedIn so I could see the chat stream, and woo! There goes the sound. Okay, I am now here. Only me. And that's human right there.
So you are human. You're not just a speaker and a facilitator.
I am a human in addition to being a speaker and a facilitator.
It is official. You have not evolved into a god yet, as many of us professional speakers wish to one day do, so that our message can
or an AI, right?
I just have a message that I want 8 billion people to hear.
Yes, and I was at the National Speakers Association annual conference for the very first time. I just joined the national. I've been a member of my local chapter for just over a year. I got recruited onto the board, and I decided to join the national and go to the ginormous fire hose of a conference called Influence. And it was 4 days of connections and amazing keynotes and breakouts. And I mean, it was just a whirlwind. And I am buzzing, and I'm just on fire after this experience. It was phenomenal. I highly recommend it. I wasn't going to go, and then it's kind of the last minute I decided to go, and I'm so glad I did.
Is there one habit that you're like, oh God, that's changing tomorrow, like something that you ran away with on fire?
So a couple things that I came away with from the conference that really stood out for me. One was there were a lot of sessions around AI. And I've been using ChatGPT a lot for my business, not to write content, but to help me brainstorm around content. And I've been using it a lot to help me with proposals. And another thing that I've been using it for is I am sort of notorious in my own head for getting stuck on, I have to follow up with a client, or I have to write an email to get back to somebody. And I just get so hung up on how to word an email. And ChatGPT has become my best friend. I will say, I've got to get back to this client or this person on XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I need to tell them. And I need some help wording this email. And ChatGPT will say, sure, here's I'll come up with a draft for you, and it'll spit out this draft. And I have to change like 3 words.
And sounds like you.
Or I might say, that's great. Can you make it a little more casual sounding? And it'll spit out a second draft. So I've been using it for that kind of thing, but I haven't played with any of the other AI tools yet. And so I did a breakout that looked at 3 other tools. Pi, which is a free app that's basically like your therapist.
No way.
So I downloaded it. I haven't really done a whole lot with it, but it's pretty interesting. So I highly recommend checking that out. And Claude, which I just actually paid for the pro version of, it just does things differently from ChatGPT. So it's really great to have both going at the same time. And then another one that I haven't personally started playing with yet, but Perplexity. So the guy who did the breakout session, his name is Mitch Mitchum. He uses
I met him.
Oh, you know his
name? Yeah.
So his company, which is called Hive, they use GPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Pi in their business, and they will use they'll run things through like all the tools, and it's all about like interweaving the human element and AI. So nothing goes out to a client or anything without being filtered through, the human touch as well. So it's the integrating of the AI and human. So that was one thing that I took away. And then another really big thing is business systems. And specifically, there was a keynote and a deep dive breakout session with David Avrin, who has this whole thing about speaking is not a business. Getting the gig is the business. And he basically opened up his entire, back end of his business to talk about how he gets the gigs. And here's one tip that I will share with you from that session. He has a virtual assistant in the Philippines working full time for him doing research on where the gigs are and then doing the initial outreach for him. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant because there's only so much time and
for humans, us.
Right. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. And I've actually worked with VAs before to do outreach in various different ways. And so that is on my list.
Okay. Getting help, because it's a lot to do for one woman show. And I noticed when I went to your LinkedIn, I haven't looked at it in like a little while, but during COVID, it was like boring meetings was your like shtick, right? And now you have this like beautiful innovation background, like one of the most dynamic background banners I've seen. So you have shifted, and you often shift like every 1 or 2 years. Like you have tons of skills and you can switch and teach many different things. But is that part of the plan, that you kind of switch each season on like what you feel like really helping companies with?
I love that question. So it is not like an intentional plan, like, gee, I'm going to every 2 years just shift what I do. Here's the reality. When COVID came along, I actually at the time was working with clients all in person, as so many of us were. And I actually thought that maybe I was going to be doing a lot of graphic facilitation because that was kind of the thing that started to be getting traction at the time. And then the pandemic happened.
This is me in my pajamas at home. This is me in my pajamas on the sofa eating ice cream. This is me crying because
Right. And so what happened was I looked around. Basically, I looked at what was at the conversations that were happening on LinkedIn, and I saw a common thread, a theme that I saw over and over was that people were really struggling with what to do on Zoom. And I saw that that was a problem that I could help them with. And so that's what led to me becoming like the virtual meetings lady. It wasn't that I, decided I'm going to pivot every 2 years or whatever. That has kind of ended up, if you look back on the story of my career trajectory, that has been a theme that I am continually reinventing myself, but it's just out of sort of necessity and sometimes because like I have gotten burned out doing what I've been doing. Like I used to be a professional artist. I was a professional artist for 15 years. The reason why I'm no longer a professional artist is because I got burned out doing that. And so I like out of survival necessity, I had to shift. I had to pivot. And the reason why I pivoted away from doing what I had been doing before the pandemic was survival necessity. The reason why I pivoted to what I'm doing now is a little bit of a longer story, but again, ultimately it comes down to survival necessity and what does the market need, and how does what my strengths and passions and abilities, how does all of that fit together in this Venn diagram, right? Ikigai.
Ikigai. I couldn't pronounce it, but I was hoping you'd say it.
Yeah, right. What is that sweet spot in the middle?
Yeah. So, okay, I am paying a little bit of attention because you said necessity because you burnt out from that, and then you were kind of you tend to burn out. Do you put so much of you into things that you tend to like go too much into stuff? Because you work hard, you do a lot. And I'm
Mm,
just wondering, is that a habit that you've learned how to manage now? Because a lot of people put too much in and there's burnout. And I just wonder, you have experience
no,
with that,
that's not
or
actually what happened when I was an artist. When I
oh,
was an artist, what happened was I got into being an artist because I loved making things.
okay.
And unfortunately, I didn't understand at the time that I really needed to carve out space and time to do that for my own
Okay.
nourishment, fulfillment, and joy.
You were young.
I
A
was
little
young
like
and naive, and I just didn't know enough
that.
to know.
Yeah.
So when I started taking art commissions for clients, I didn't understand that that was a different animal from the animal of making art for my own joy and fulfillment and playing.
Yeah.
And I stopped making art to play, and
Yeah.
the only art that I made was for clients. And I believed this story in my head that was, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Everything I make has to make money
Yeah.
and has to be for clients. And I do not have time to make any art that's not going to make money and put food on the table. That was a story, and I believed that story. And so I got completely burned out.
And because I'm hearing that and I'm just like, isn't that what all I don't know too many entrepreneurs that balance their lives very well, because all of my friends, we all love our jobs. We're all in like kind of the facilitation world. When I look at my LinkedIn, like 90% are my colleagues, probably. I should probably switch that, but and I work like all day and then I go do like my gigs at night or whenever on the weekends or whenever it is. But it's like I love it so much. I kind of think I'm just like
Yeah.
not working, but I haven't painted or done my jewelry or gone to the gym. That's my excuse in literally 4 years, because I've been like on survival mode of
Yeah.
COVID. We're broke. The rent needs to be paid. Now I can finally relax and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can go to the beach. Or can I? What is the habit that you've learned as an entrepreneur for us, how to shift a little bit balance?
Oh my God. So this is where, Jessica, this is where we teach what we need to learn. And it is just as hard for me as it is for anyone else. But
Hmm.
it is a continual reminder to myself that I need to make that time. I need to carve out that time. It is so important to make that time to feed ourselves, to nourish ourselves, to play. That is not frivolous. It is not a waste of time. It is essential.
And the
And
topic
it
is
could
innovation,
be,
creativity. So go
yes,
into that for me, right?
yes, exactly. And it could be as simple as I'm looking around for, oh, here we go. It could be as simple as finding like a Post-it note and making a crappy doodle on a Post-it note, like spending 2 minutes and making a
Yeah.
doodle, or the back of an envelope, right? That could, even taking 2 minutes and making a doodle on the back of an envelope,
Yeah.
for me, actually it's letting my inner 4-year-old inhabit the tip of a pen and giving her free reign to do
Mhm.
whatever she wants and just explore and make messes.
Mhm.
For me, that's play. So what is your play? What
Mhm.
is going to enable you to feel like you're exploring, letting loose? What is play for you?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what is going to nourish you? What is going to make you feel like you're having fun and that
Mhm.
you're not working? And it is especially hard to do this for those of us for whom our work and our play are, very much connected to each other.
Well, do you see who's on the call here? We got Dave Bourne and Gary Ware.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
didn't see them. Hey guys!
So us improvisers, we made improv, which we love so much, into our careers. And so we're playing while we're working. That's awesome. But then there's the marketing, the branding, the finances, the cancellations, the AI learning, the upskilling, all of the taxes. That's all of that stuff. So it's like we play, but we also got serious stuff to do. And because it's mixed, it's kind of like, am I allowed to actually play and take a break, or was that work kind of play? Because I had a lot of
So
fun.
It is so, yeah, this is the challenge when I was a visual artist, and now it's a challenge for me now because what I do for my business, yeah, preach, that's right, Gary. What I do for my business now, a lot of the time it feels like play when I'm working with my clients.
Yeah,
I'm
wonderful.
leading them through, oftentimes I'm leading them through improv activities, right? I'm leading them through play activities. It's some of the most fun work that I do. I love my work, or I'm on stage
Yeah.
speaking in front of an audience. That is so fun for me. I love my work. And yet,
Hmm.
it's still work
Yeah, yeah.
that is different from carving out sacred time for
Hmm.
my inner 4-year-old to
Hmm.
do what I refer to as like pure play, or apropos my book, creative sandbox time. My book
Hmm.
is called The Creative Sandbox Way. Now, the creative sandbox is that mind space of being a 4-year-old.
Hmm.
Think back to when you were a 4-year-old.
Hmm.
You got, imagine you got into a sandbox.
Yeah.
You picked up a bucket, you
Yeah.
filled it with sand, maybe you put some water in there. You're like, huh, what would happen if I did, if I took the sand and I mixed it with,
Dumped it on my friend.
dinosaurs? You dumped it upside down, you smushed it around, whatever. What would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? You're not doing it in order to get paid. You're not doing it in order to win an award. You're not doing it to impress anyone. And guess what? When you step outside of the sandbox, you're not thinking about it anymore. It's just going to get, somebody's
Hmm.
going to step on it. You don't
Yeah.
care. It's just a sandbox, right?
Well,
So we need to carve out space and time for our inner 4-year-olds to muck around in the creative sandbox. That is absolutely essential. And guess what? It is just as hard for me to carve out that
you
time.
wrote the book.
And I wrote the damn book about it. So, but here's the thing. It can be, it doesn't have to be like great gobs of time, like 3 hours a day or 3 hours a week. It can be
Hmm.
10
Oh.
minutes. It can even be 2 minutes. Any
Hmm.
amount counts. Any
Hmm.
amount counts.
I
Just
love it.
like lower that bar.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, play. Well, I have this example that we went through COVID, my partner and I, in Barcelona, and we were both building our businesses during COVID, like super broke, like feed the dog, like where are you going to get dog food money? He was at sometimes, right? And then like it kind of exploded for me, so I could help out. But there was no time for play. It was just like when you're on survival, Maslow's hierarchy, it's like when you're down here and you're like, oh my God, I might lose all of my savings, all of my business. And play is like, I don't know where it is on that hierarchy, but if you can't get there, you can't enjoy it. So it's like you have to, in that stress, consciously take time away from money making activities to create more money making activities that will actually help you. But it has to be like a firm decision. It can't be like, if I find the time, because we won't, especially mothers with children, fathers that are just overwhelmed, right? So how do you put play into a lifestyle that has no time even to shower?
So this is where you insert play into the nooks and crannies of your day.
Yeah.
So, you've got 2 minutes, maybe make a doodle in those 2 minutes, or you're with your kids. There's, improv activities that you can play with your kids
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
while you're driving someplace
Look,
or
no
scrolling
hands.
online. Yeah, exactly. So that's where you have to get really creative and
Yeah.
figure out how can you be playful
Yeah.
in the nooks and crannies so that you don't have to carve out an hour or
Yeah.
carve out 15 minutes feels impossible sometimes. So how
Mhm.
can you figure out creative ways to be playful
Hmm. Hmm.
in the nooks and crannies?
If that's all you got, if you got crumbles and crannies. Dave has a question about making
Yeah.
videos. Your theory is you must first suck. And I love that you use that word because I love using bad words on LinkedIn and seeing if they punish me. They didn't punish me because I got like a rock star interviewing, so they didn't punish me for that. But if I, so this theory, how long you got to suck for, and are successful people suckers a long time and repeated suckers, and it's okay, you should embrace that word. Like, yeah, I suck, and hopefully with enough training in a year I will suck less. Or what's the attitude there?
Yeah. And I love your question, Dave. So, there's one of the poet laureates of the United States, and I can't remember his name, was asked, he writes a poem every day. And he was asked by somebody, I think it was some national reporter or something, what do you do if your poem isn't any good? And the poet laureate said, I lower my standards.
Okay.
And yes, Dave asked, was it hard at the beginning with the first ones not to be overly critical? And looking back, how much have you improved or changed? It is always hard not to be overly critical. There are these things these little gremlins that we have in our heads.
Oh,
and here's the thing, they never go away.
what?
They exist there. They're a product of evolution. They exist in our heads in order to try to keep us safe. That is their purpose in our heads. Our inner critics, our saboteurs, their sole purpose is to try and keep us safe. So knowing that, whenever we hear that voice that says, that's not good enough, you shouldn't do that, don't put that video up or whatever, don't apply for that position, it looks like a big stop sign, right? But once we start to discern what those gremlin, we can start to hear that gremlin voice and discern, oh, that's a gremlin, it looks like a stop sign, then we can start to realize that it actually is a green light. It's just that voice in our head never goes away because it's determining the edge of our comfort zone.
And it wants to keep us safe because then we don't climb mountains and chase tigers.
Exactly.
Right?
We stay safely inside our comfort zone, and creativity exists outside of our comfort zone. The only way to do anything creative, anything innovative, anything new is to go beyond the comfort zone, to get past that gremlin voice. So when you hear that gremlin voice, you know that is a sign that you have to get beyond that voice.
And that's not going, because I've had an overly critical voice, if I can treat you like my therapist for a second, from like growing up German and perfectionism and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And with enough therapy and psyche and switching my subconscious thoughts, that really mean voice that used to tell me a bunch of really mean stuff is so quiet now because I switched a lot of shit around in my head. But are you telling me the ones that fear for your safety, that like the comfort zone ones, not the abusive ones that are like, you're fat girl, or why are you so tall, or nobody likes you, or you talk like you're from somewhere that you don't know how to do the accent? That stuff can go away, but this stuff you're telling me never goes away?
This stuff never goes away because the better we get, there's always another voice, there's always another level that we can get to. So the people that we admire, we think, oh my God, they must not have any gremlins because they're so accomplished, right? They've got gremlins. Because they have a next level to get to beyond where they are.
Their levels are just different. They're just like, you're too scared to lead 25,000 people in a march. And I'm just like, oh my God, what if I say something on LinkedIn against this old white guy?
And guess what? They have further to fall.
Oh, so, their voices are stronger then.
And also, as Dave points out in his comment, when you are able to get past those gremlins and try things, and like, let's talk about video. The first one, you're like, oh my God, this is so crappy, but I'm going to put it out anyway. And you just keep going. Oh my God, the second one, it's still so crappy. I'm going to put it out anyway. And you keep putting them out. Just let yourself put them out. And then you can look back, 3 months later, a year later, wow, these have evolved. I've gotten more comfortable doing this.
I am comfortable in the crap.
Yeah. I mean, people look at me, I'm comfortable on stage. I sing on stage. I do improv on stage, and people think, oh my God, you must have always been so good at that. You must have always been so comfortable at. Hell no. But they assume that there's my alarm. They assume that I have always been comfortable, that I've always been, No, first time I held a microphone to sing on stage, my knees were knocking. But they don't see those. They don't see
Yeah.
that. They don't see your, your early attempts, right? Now, if it's recorded for everyone to see because it's, on the internet, then maybe they do see your early attempts. But that's, a great model.
I heard you have an alarm and we want to finish up. Could you just do like quick the 3 steps that you have trademarked, and the second stage is the sucking stage, and we'll see if we can use those tips in our life.
Yes, so I have a 3-step create the impossible process. The first step, of course, involves play. And the first step is play hard. Now, that does not mean to go to Vegas and get drunk. That really means to embrace your inner 4-year-old and just let yourself get back into that mind space of being a kid. So that's step 1, play hard. And step 2 is make crap. Let yourself suck, because we need to suck before we can unsuck. We need to make crap in order to fertilize the good stuff. And step 3 is to learn fast. So, we've made a bunch of crap.
Sorry.
First I had to make the crap, and then we take what we have made and learn from that, learn what worked, what didn't work, and iterate, iterate, iterate. So that is the 3-step model. Play hard, make crap, learn fast.
Sounds doable.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
It is infinitely doable.
Yeah. And repeat.
Yeah.
Listen,
that's what I walk teams through in my programs and my workshops and my keynotes.
Wonderful. And I wish you weren't so far away from Barcelona.
I do too.
Because do you know Barbara, the jester? Do you know, from New York? She hasn't been to our conferences in the last 7 years, but ironically, 8 years ago in Barcelona, she told me, "You want to just do improv for your life? Well, you can join the AIN and you can make that your job." And I'm like, AIN.
Wow.
Yeah. And now she's my keynote presenter at this unconference, this festival that I'm running at the end of October in Barcelona. So like, because of her, I have my dream job, and now she's my key speaker at my dream festival. It's like beautiful.
That is so cool.
Right? Yeah. I feel very blessed. Worked hard, failed, sucked, couldn't do it. And then just in the last 2 years, do I like really make money doing it? And I can survive on it. So it took 4 years plus 2 years of COVID. Thank you.
Awesome.
A lot of crap and learning, and now just iterate until I die.
that you know what? That's life. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And iterate until you die. That should be your make crap, iterate till you die.
Iterate till you die. I see Dave says, what if I want to go to Vegas and get drunk? Well, you know what? Nobody's stopping you.
Dave, cheers, my brother.
Cheers.
Thanks, Melissa. See you guys later.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.